Hey, uh, many things. One, there's no site of grace here, but if you look on the map, there's a site of grace here. And, there it is. Alright, so, that's something strange. You see, when you first load in, at least on PC, things just don't load it. It's super strange. And I hope that gets fixed. And again, loading in takes like 1.5 to 3 minutes. Anyways, there's a reason why I'm starting here despite us having completed the area. And there are many things to get to. So second, I was exploring and I found this. Which was a locked door, but with the storeroom key you can open it. So, not sure what that's about, but new NPC. Again, this is where you open up the storeroom key door with, near the small private altar. Second thing, I actually tried out Rolana's twin moons and Rolana's twin blades on a second character that I'm going through the DLC with. And we could actually teleport back here to see if the NPC has any new dialogue. But anyways, the other character that I have, that I tried the two things with, my my strength, dexterity, intelligence, and faith are all at least 50. And I believe all of them besides faith are at least 60. Because I know that faith is at like 50 or 55. And so... And I know intelligence is at least 72. And so I used both of Rolana's things on that character, which, again, very high stats, because I spent a lot of time grinding on that character, so that way I could use pretty much any piece of equipment, sorcery, incantation, whatever. And the notes that I have for the full moon are the pros. It looks very cool and has got decent damage. And then for the cons, it has a very niche use, and it's very slow, interruptible, and close range. And I've got extra notes of it costs 47 FP, which is the same as Renala's full moon and 10 less than Ranni's dark moon. And in case you don't know, Renala's full moon and Ranni's dark moon both have you go up into the air and then shoot a single moon forward at an enemy. And these are both very slow and interruptible, which actually isn't really a bad thing because of two reasons. One, massive damage, and two, they're very long range. So you can get around it being slow and interruptible because you shouldn't be using it at a range where you can be interrupted. Whereas Rolana's twin moons, what you do is you go up into the air and you shoot a moon straight down, and then there's a small pause, and then you shoot a moon straight down, and then there's a pause, and then you grab your like glintstone staff and you slam it into the ground for a total of 3 explosions. And so, it being slow and interruptible, just like the two full moons, by itself isn't a bad thing, but when you combine that with it being close range, that means that the enemies are within range to interrupt you. And what I noticed is that if you have like Mimic Tier or a Summon, or if you're doing co-op, then it's fine because you can have the other entity distract the enemy or the boss. But if you're purely going alone, then it's only really good against like NPC invaders who just run straight at you and you can get the timing right, or if you sneak up on an enemy. So it's by far the coolest looking of the three moon sorceries, but it's also the most niche because of the close range nature of it. And I feel like if you could go one, maybe two, like straight sword swings without being interrupted, just that tiny, tiny bit of hyper armor, not much, just a little bit. Like I said, a single, maybe two straight sword swings without being interrupted would really help it. And if I were to place it on like a tier list, I haven't used him much, but initial feeling from it, I would say it's like low C tier. And then for Rolana's Twin Blades, it scales C with strength, dex, intelligence, and faith. And again, the character I used it on had, like, if I remember correctly, like 60 strength, 60 dex, 75 or 80 intelligence, and then like 50 or 55 faith. So all four of those stats are really quite high. Not as high as they possibly could be, besides for intelligence, but still pretty high. Like, all of them are definitely above 50. I know that for sure. But something I noticed... Well, I mean, we should get to the pros first. So the pros, very cool looking. It's got good damage. I don't know if the damage will be good with lower stats, but most of the damage, like, it's split between physical, fire, and magic. And the physical, the base was like 240, and the fire and magic were both like 160 once it was fully upgraded. And I did the math, and for every... I did the math in my head yesterday, and if I remember correctly, for every point in the strength and dex you put, you get roughly 2 points of physical damage, whereas you get ever so slightly less than 1 point of magic damage per intelligence, and you get ever so slightly less than 1 point of fire damage for every level of faith. Again, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's like half physical damage, half fire and magic combined. So if you mostly stick to strength and dex, you won't lose too much damage. But anyways, with the character I used it on, it had good damage, and it had a good and varied moveset, because not only did it have the one-handed light greatsword moveset, but when you two-handed it, since it's two weapons, you were dual-wielding it, and if you press the dual-wield button, which is the button to shield, then you actually did a normal straight sword moveset. But you could also do, like, if you press the normal attack button, then you would do the dual wield moveset for light greatswords, which is very, very good. And so if you pressed, well, I mean, it'd be on, well, I mean, we have it, so I can show it. So, very good moveset. A lot of variety. And then it had extremely high level potential because it has C scaling in everything. Meaning you can go to 80 strength, 80 dex, 80 intelligence, 80 faith. So very, very high level potential. And then it had two different very cool spells with the magic form and the fire form. And the skills have pretty low FP cost. Like, yeah, 10 and 25, but that's not that much, honestly. But then for the cons, the moveset isn't super streamlined. Because it's like 2 pokes. And like, whereas with the straight sword moveset, it's very clean and consistent. Whereas this, you're getting multiple different things. And so, not really a big con. It's just not the most streamlined moveset. And then second con, it's split between 3 different damage types. Between physical, magic, and fire, which can hurt a bit. I didn't notice it too much, but on paper that could be an issue. And then the third and actually final con that I found for it was that the fire skill, the fire stance, it did less damage than I thought it would, considering I had like 50, 55-ish, somewhere around there. Like, I had decent faith, but the fire stance, or the fire skill damage, was very low. Well, not very low, but it was like half of what I expected it to be. But also, faith was my lowest stat, and it also took less FP than I thought it would at 25. So, there's that, and that can also be seen as a good thing, because while it's bad for PvE since it's not as much damage as I would think, it's actually good for PvP since when going through it on my other character, I was playing online and I was doing co-op and I was helping people, and I noticed a ton of people who were just using new weapons from the DLC and just spamming the skills. And there was one weapon, I'll know it when I see it because it was very distinct, but I haven't seen it yet in this playthrough. And also, I'm making sure to not surpass this character's progress on that character. But anyways, it was like they would throw themselves forward and then there'd be an electric explosion. Yeah, people were really addicted to just spamming that weapon skill. And I got pretty good at dodging it, actually, because they used it so often. Anyways, we can see if this guy has any new dialogue. Then we can head off to Shadow Keep. I guess not. So I don't know what's going on with this guy. But we can also talk to Leda real quick. Because I forget where exactly she is in terms of like where we are in the timeline. Or where we are in her quest. It was killing the Hornsent, right?
I believe the Hornsent suspects what I have in mind. He never placed his full trust in me, even under the effect of kindly Miquella's spell. You must have recognized something. The scent of the killer that slept within me. The stench of crusted blood. I will follow the Hornsent. To have his revenge on Sir Mesmer, there is only one place he will go. The Black Keep. I will follow the Hornsent. To have his revenge on Sir Mesmer, there is only one place he will go. The Black Keep.
Okay. Is the Black Keep the Shadow Keep? Or is it somewhere else? Oh yeah, oh wow, completely forgot. Last time we went through the Stone Fisher area where we continued Talia's his quest, and we met Saint Trina, which is very cool. Yeah, Stone Coffin Fisher, that's what it's called. Cannot believe I forgot that. Whew. That went right over my head. But now we can do this. Hornsent. Redmane Freya. Okay. So, few things. One, lots of weapons on the ground. Love to see that. These weapons have a lot of range. I hope these are just scaled up and not actually the range I'm gonna have to deal with. Two, usually whenever there's a summon, it's directly in front of a boss, not at the beginning of an area. But this doesn't really look like a boss arena. It can be. There's a thing right there. But I found one of those already, and it wasn't a boss. It dropped a Erdtree fragment, but wasn't the boss. Like a mini boss, I think. But also, Hornsent. He's got. That looks like a new weapon class. Again, I haven't really. I watched like half of one trailer, and that's pretty much it. That's all the information I came in to the DLC with. But Freya, I remember Freya wasn't that good, but I don't think that's an issue with Freya. I think that's because she's a melee build, and she was going up against a lion boss, and it didn't feel like melee builds are good against that boss. Because while I did beat them first try, I'm very surprised by that. And it took Freya and Mimic here. So, and even then we just barely won. And as I've said throughout this run going through the DLC, I don't like to pull out Mimic here. Not when I'm going up against a new boss. Because I like to go after the boss not really alone, because I do summon NPC summons to see what they're like, but I like going in without Spirit Ashes because I like to learn the boss. That's part of why I summon NPC summons, to learn the NPC summons. But I'm kind of torn on whether I should summon Freya to give her a second chance, where she might be in a better position, or to summon Hornsent because he's completely new. I'm gonna summon Hornsent, partially because he's new and partially because Leda wants him dead, and I want to see if he says anything about that. I'm not summoning both. I also want to see his weapons. Alright, so he's not moving forward. There's a thing there that lets you summon spirit ashes. I can't lock on to that thing, which it feels like it should be in range. So I feel like maybe this is a boss fight. So I'm gonna pop this. Golden Hippopotamus. Oh, you have a lot of health. Alright, so as I said, I found one of these things before. Oh. Oh. I mean, that did less damage than I thought it would, but I was already very low health. Alright, so this boss in general is doing less damage than I thought it would, but it has a lot of health, so I think it evens out. And stab. Yeah, so this is a very defensive boss. Whoa. So you go from a hippopotamus to a porcupine. Very cool looking. Uh-oh. I don't know the dodge timings yet. But I don't think we can get to that. Oh, I think he procced bleed. Ow. I started running, which stopped me from rolling. Oh, he did that thing. I know what that is. Ooh. Almost started running again. I rolled just in time. Alright. Hornsent survived with the tiniest sliver of HP. And there's a door here. Alright. So we gain like 180,000 runes, it looks like. We got aspects of the Crucible Thorns and a Erdtree fragment. I don't know if that was 1 or 2. We need 3, so it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, multi-layered ring of light. I forgot I was supposed to show that off last time, because we got this in the St. Tarina area. Huh. And then we have aspects of the Crucible Thorns. Oh. So it can be charged. And it's just like a 360 spread shot. Cool. In general, the aspects of the Crucible incantations aren't very strong, but they are very cool. Like, when I first saw the tail one, I was so excited. I could not wait to use it, and it was very mediocre, but it was very cool. Let's see. Aspect of the Crucible that manifested in golden hippopotami creates a bristling mass of thorn-like fur on the caster's back before scouring the area by rolling around on the ground. Charging increases potency. In an age-long past, before this land was enshrouded in shadow, the vitality of the Crucible flourished, remains of this can be seen in the ancient ruins. Okay. Not picking up that side of grace because they're right next to each other. Cannot open from the side. I'll get it. I'm just not a fan of when there are two sites of grace right next to each other like that. Because you can just have one. That's something that Dark Souls 1 did very well, is not having two bonfires right next to each other. Anyways. No! Such a thing is utterly inconceivable. We have not been abandoned. Mesmer is the son of Queen Marika. Her grace would never abandon her own flesh and blood. Alright, two things. We know that Mesmer is the son of Marika. We could have guessed that by them both having the name M. Or having M as the first letter of their name. And also, she would absolutely... I know how to speak English. She would absolutely abandon her own flesh and blood. Like, Godric... I don't trust it. I don't trust it. You know, sometimes... Where'd he go? Where'd he go? I need to sneeze. I didn't have time to mute myself, I'm sorry. But at first I looked at these two enemies and I went, wow, they're so stupid hanging out by the edge like that. And then I went, this is Elden Ring. If I think the enemies are stupid... Oh. Alright. One, I went, haha, enemies hanging out by the ledge, they're so stupid. And then it immediately clicked that, oh, this is Elden Ring, this is probably a trap, I need to get out of here. And then when walking up here, I thought that this was... Oh, it is. I was about to say, I thought this was an opening to a different area. Which it is. But also, when I rolled over here, I thought I was just going to fall down. Because I rolled into the wall, not realizing there was a gap here. But we didn't fall into the gap. So I don't know if you can't fall into the gap or not. I'm not going to try it, though. There's a golden tree there. Yeah. I saw one enemy laying there and I went, Forgot I had that on. But I looked at an enemy and I went, one enemy laying here. This is Elden Ring, that's probably a trap. So I looked around and, yeah, that's a Twin Blade Knight. And, we're just gonna... Oh yeah, also I got the Outer God Heirloom, which raises the Arcane stat by 5. So... that was cool. We can take this guy out, then I can show you where to find that on the map. It was it at the abandoned ailing village? It was at some kind of village or ruins like that. Somewhere around here on the map. But I don't remember if it was there specifically. Feels like here though. But it was up at like the very top. Oh. Oh, so that's probably the way we came up. And that's probably the ledge where I went, haha, those enemies are stupid. Oh, wait, maybe I'm the stupid. Main Gauche. We can kill this guy, then look at it. If anyone tells you that greatswords are not the best weapon class in the series, they're either biased or they're lying to you. You got a great bow and Black Knight Greaves. Okay. Oh, I thought this was going to be a piercing sword, but no, it's a dagger. C scaling in dex, D scaling in strength, 2 weight. A dagger with a large handguard, intended to be used in the left hand. Thereby complementing a piercing sword or identical blade held in the right hand to enable a distinctive style of fighting. Oh, it's got the longer parry animation of the parrying dagger. Alright. It says intended to be used in the left hand, complementing a piercing sword. I don't think we have any piercing sword. Oh, we do. Alright, yeah, so just like I think it's called the Wagizashi, which is a dagger but dual wields with katanas. This is a dagger that dual wields with thrusting swords. Good to know, good to know. And it is very tempting to jump out there, because golden tree and I see an item there. But I don't want to jump down to somewhere if I don't know how to get back. Alright. So, I stopped because I got a phone call and they immediately stopped calling. Don't know what that was about. But also, enemies here, whenever there are enemies just standing around and not doing anything, always stop and look around. Because oh. Oh. We almost went flying off the edge. Right, so we're getting further and further away from that, but I trust the game to bring us back. I'm sure they're fine. Bazo! Hello, friend. You're free to come out here, because I heard a great bow being shot, and I don't want to get shot by a great bow. Oh. So he's there in the center of the room. I just want to point out, if it wasn't for the white hair of their helmet, I would not have seen that guy. Because, wow, I am blind apparently. I don't think I should have gotten that backstab, but I'll take it. And I think I mentioned it before, but I don't like when helmets have hair like that. Especially when it goes up. Not a fan of that. And even though it helped me here by letting me spot that guy, again, I would never have spotted him standing in this doorway if it wasn't for the hair. We can summon Mimic Tear here. I don't like that. But even though it helped me here, I'm going to hold consistent to that. Or I would rather not have the hair. We got a great bow. Got a Shadow Rune 6. There's a way to go out that way. I saw a door on that side, but this path is closer. We got a Golden Vow item. And there's that down there. I'm assuming we're going to wrap around and down eventually. I'm assuming. Doesn't open from this side. Okay, okay. I'm not entirely sure how we would get around. Maybe we have to take the drop down in the earlier place, and then we can get up through that door. I almost ran off. Because I wasn't looking where I was going, and the gravity kills. There's a doorway there. We're gonna check to make sure there's no enemies in here before we go after this guy. That feels like a good idea. But yeah, Great Sword's overpowered. Some more Golden Vow. And you can't even say, oh, well, it's just the Blasphemous Blade because... Well, I didn't even see you. Hello. Well, you guys aren't attacking me, so I won't attack you. Talisman of Lord's Bestowal or Bestowal. Increases poise after using a Flask of Tears. A talisman depicting Godfrey, first Elden Lord, receiving the precious sap. Oh, that's the sap of the Blessed Dew talisman. See, even Godfrey uses the Blessed Dew talisman. That's how good it is. It is increases poise after using a Flask of Tears, which is either health or FP. The Lord accepted the sap stoically without any sign of wavering. No wonder Lord of the Erdtree cast a long shadow over the lands. I don't know how much poise they would give. I don't know if it would show up here in the menu, because right now we have 72. So I don't know if it would show up there or what, but... There are two ways to go. There's that door and this one. Two smithing stone, 8. That looks like the drop down to the beginning. So we could definitely do that. That was a one-shot. Look at that. You cannot look at that and go, yeah, the mediocre weapon class. You cannot look at that and say that greatswords are mediocre. Because that is something I have heard a lot. Is people saying that, oh, greatswords are the jack of all trades, master of none. But, like, it doesn't matter if they're the absolute best. That's right. That does lead back to here. Right, good. It doesn't matter that... I mean, it's true that greatswords aren't the best at any one thing. But you don't have to be the best at any one thing if you're above average to, like, top 3, top 4 in almost everything. Like, they have... Hi. Yeah, those are delayed poison bombs. But also, I learned that these actually aren't the vulgar militiamen of the base game. Because in my second character going through, I actually got one of their armor pieces, and they were called Shadow Militiamen. Oh, hi. Anyways. Yeah, they have probably like top 6, top 7 in damage. I have no numbers for this. This is just going off the top of my head. But they're probably like top 6, top 7 for damage. They're probably like top 5 or 6 in terms of how much stance break they have. Alright, so there's 3 main ways to go, and that looks like... Never mind. I was gonna say, that looks like someone who has a name above their head. But no, it's just a very cool looking enemy. But anyways... One of the top damage, one of the top... be summoned to assist... Oh. So I have to choose between Leda and Hornsent. Okay. We will get back to that. For now, like I said, great damage, great poise damage, great stance break potential, especially if you know your combos. Like, running jump attack, long R2, tap R2, R1, when two-handed, that's stance breaks and knights. Knights. And every single one of those swings, except for maybe the tap R2, acts as a stun. So it makes them flinch. And the R1 at the end doesn't make them flinch, but it does stance break them. Anyways, normally the gold is good. And the red is bad. But also, I mentioned my, like, where my allegiances lie before. Back when I was talking to Needle Knight Leda in a previous part here. And I said that Needle Knight Leda is my top priority. Because she's using a light greatsword, which is a hard contender for my favorite weapon class. Like, it's probably the only real contender to the greatsword. And she uses that, and she also has one of the coolest armor sets and one of the coolest voice actors. And she helps you with Rolana, and she's been the best NPC helper, at least in the DLC so far, so... I'm gonna one-hand. And I'm gonna assist the Needle Knight. Which is also a very, very cool title.
Worthy Hornsent, I will dispose of you before your thirst for revenge beckons our injury. I can no longer trust your word.
In the end, I knew this day would come. The nature of your kind, I am certain, will always show itself. Given time, interfere not with my business. Zealot.
What a surprise. that you should join me here. I am pleased. Now go and make yourself useful.
Apologies. Oh, Mother.
Kindly Mikula never betrays a vow. Go. Your family awaits you.
So, I don't know what she's doing here. I think maybe her AI broke a little. Alright, Pelks and braided cord set. Whenever there's multiple titles to a single armor set, I always just go with what's the chest piece. Oh, curved sword. So it's a normal curved sword then. Strength, dexterity, physical damage, blood loss buildup. Curved sword with long sickle-like blades, a pair of weapons made to be wielded in both hands, forged by a Hornsent in the name of revenge. In vengeance for the flames, my blade I wield. Unique skill, Revenger's Blade. Dash up to an enemy and slash them open with the blades held in each hand. By holding down the button, the initial dash will be extended. Follow up with a strong attack to hack the enemy to pieces. So we can read these two. Grotesque mask constructed from countless solidified caterpillars. A ritual implement of the greater potentates of Bonnie Village. Used to ward off thoughts of impurity, doubt, temptation, and other weakness one is vulnerable to while absorbed in divine ritual. Ragged black cloth overlaid with braided cord. Attire of a vengeance-seeking Hornsent. The braided cord ties together the vow of the Revenger with the victim's grudges. It must never come undone, and answers both watchful spirits and the vengeful spirits summoned by horned barons. Man, I cannot read English. Alright, so 3 things. 1, the dialogue. I specifically wasn't attacking very much or being aggressive because I wanted to get through all the dialogue, but I think he still died before all the dialogue got through. 2, the armor. It looks very cool, but it suffers from the same thing that the dancer set suffers from. It has very low damage negation, but you get it extremely late in the game, so it doesn't matter how cool it looks. You can't really use it unless you're like a god gamer who can no-hit run the game. And 3, the weapons. Alright, so this is the normal light attack. Whereas this is the shield. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you have 2, like if I had 1 curved sword here, 1 curved sword here, and I held them out, then the light attack would be this. Whereas the shield would be this. That's why I point that out. But also, we can move over to this and we can check this out. Alright, so that was tapping the skill button, holding the skill button, and then the follow-up. Alright. So down here seems like a shorter path. But yeah, greatswords are just... they're almost too good at everything. Oh, is this the shortcut back to the bonfire where we killed the hippopotamus. That's the only time yep. I was about to say, that's the only time I saw a big door like this. So good thing I went this way first. But yeah, like the only two things where greatswords don't excel at would be swing speed, but even then they're fine. Like, they're not bad. They're just like middle of the pack, maybe slightly below average, but still not bad. And second would be the weight. But both of these are higher end weight greatswords. There are multiple greatswords that weigh like 9. We can move back to this. Oh yeah, this is definitely no enemy type. Hope you don't mind me taking those. Alright, so this is a mesmer related enemy. And they got... Oh! Is that a heavy thrusting sword? And you might say, oh, well, how can greatswords be good if your weapon is bouncing off? But that's only one-handed. You two-hand with this bad boy? Your weapon's going right through that. Wasn't enough to, like, knock their weapon away, but still. Fire Knight Helm and a Smithing Stone 7. It boosts stamina. Huh. Pointed Helm of the Fire Knights under Mesmer the Impaler's personal command. That implies that Mesmer is gonna be somewhere here. Because I remember he was a big staple point of the DLC. And I'm assuming that he's gonna be a boss. So he's probably somewhere around here. But slightly increases maximum HP, stamina, and maximum equip load. I don't know if that's just the helmet or the entire set. If it's the entire set, wow. Anyways, each and every knight hailed from a renowned family of the Erdtree's upper echelons, but were shunned and chased from their homes after pledging allegiance to Mesmer as their master. Okay. I just realized that if we helped the Hornsent, then we would get Needle Knight Leda's armor, which I mentioned is one of the coolest looking armor sets. This is an elevator. And elevators, after a big area, tend to lead to a boss. And we got a really big shortcut just before this. Oh, thank God. Specimen Storehouse. I was kind of afraid that this was going to be a boss. I was so glad to see a set of grace. Like, oh, yes. Ow. Well, we're at 54 minutes, and I could keep going, but I'm gonna stop it here, because this feels like a good place to stop it, because I don't think we're doing all this in like 15-20 minutes. But there's a lot of screenshot potential here. This DLC has a lot of screenshot potential. But anyways, you probably noticed by now that I used to upload every like 2 to 4 days. And then once the DLC came out, I started uploading every single day. But then I just kind of stopped, and now I upload every 2 days. Maybe every 3 at this point, but I'm gonna try to stick to every 2 days. And the reason for that is pretty simple. Before the DLC came out, uploading a video for me and like my 45 to 60-minute long videos, they would take like 2.5 hours to upload. They would take like an hour and a half to 3 hours, but the most common time was like 2.5. But then once the DLC came out, for some reason, the time it took to upload a video shot from 4 to 7 hours. And it's usually, like, so far it's mostly been 7 hours. And that's just a lot of time. And so I don't want to lose 7 hours each day uploading a video, which is why I moved to every other day. I don't know if that's a thing with my internet, or if that's a thing with YouTube, or what. Like, part of me kind of feels like it's my internet, because my internet isn't super consistent. It's not bad, but it's not super consistent. But I kind of feel like it's YouTube, because like my entire time uploading up to the DLC coming out, it only took an hour and a half to 3 hours. That was very consistent out of like outside of one single episode, or one single part video, whatever you want to call it. And I uploaded like 250 videos, and of those, only one single video took longer, and that's because my internet was not having a good time. And so I knew that it was going to take longer. Whereas right now, my internet's being fine. It's being pretty good, actually, outside of uploads. And so it could be my internet, it could be YouTube, not 100% sure. But still, that's why the uploads went from every day to every not day. But I feel like we can end it here. So in this part, we got the main Gosh, a dagger that dual wields with piercing swords, or thrusting swords in this game. We got the Volks, which is the Hornsent curved sword. I don't think we got anything else new besides a great bow, which we already had. We got a new armor set in the braided cord set used by the Hornsent. We got the Talisman of Lord's Bestowal, I don't know how to pronounce that, which gets you more poise after sipping a flask of tears. We also got the Aspects of the Crucible Thorns incantation and the Fire Knight helm. Both very cool. So, pretty good progress today. I'm pretty happy with that. And yeah.